Welcome to In the Spotlight. I'm Janelle Broderick, joined today by Liz Higgins, the coordinator of HCC's dance program, and student Kate Quigley. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Today we'll be talking about the upcoming dance company production, but before we jump into that, I'd like to talk to you, Liz, a little bit about this pivot to teaching dance online. What has your experience been teaching in this remote world?
It's definitely been a new world for all of us, both the students and the faculty. Dance is an art form that really relies on time, space, and energy and the intersection of those elements. So certainly space is an issue when you're teaching on Zoom. The students are often in their living rooms, in their bedrooms, their kitchens. Sometimes they have access to a basement or a little bit larger space. So there's been a lot of adapting in terms of how we think about space, what we ask the students to do so they can dance fully but safely at the same time. Energy is also shifted because we're talking about a two-dimensional world rather than a three-dimensional world. So normally we kind of feel each other's energy and we can sense those dynamics. And some of that does get compressed or flattened in the two-dimensional world. But I really do feel like the students have been incredible and the faculty, and we've made the best of it. And at least we've been able to keep moving and keep dancing. But we are very excited to be slowly moving back into the dance studio.
So for the rehearsals for the upcoming dance company production, how much of that has been taking place on campus?
We have been approved this semester for hybrid for certain classes, technique classes for dance majors, our intermediate and high intermediate levels, and our dance repertory class, which is when we work on the pieces for the dance company concert, which has been a tremendous help for us. We started on Zoom and slowly moved our way into the studio, and we've reconfigured our schedule so we're never all together as a company in the studio. We would bring pieces in one at a time. We have 2 dance studios, so we would make sure we left time in between pieces and split up. If students are in more than one piece, then they of course would stay in that studio. So we really had to be creative about scheduling and how we thought about the process. Everybody was very cooperative, of course, about wearing masks and distancing from each other and being respectful of each other's space. So it's been a beautiful process, and we just completed the filming last week in the theater, which felt so good. The students were really excited to get on stage. They just lit up, and you could see they actually performed. I mean, even though there wasn't a traditional audience out there, just being in that space with the lighting design and the film crew there, they came alive and they did a beautiful job.
And Kate, how has this transition been for you as an HCC dance major? You're in your 2nd year, correct?
Correct. It's been definitely difficult to transition over Zoom, and it's been really nice to get back in the studio and see everybody as much as we can.
Liz, what was the audition process like, pulling this team together? Some of these dancers you may have worked with before and some perhaps not. Is anybody in the cast new to the HCC dance program?
Yes, surprisingly, even though we started all this on Zoom and our audition was on Zoom last semester, we did have some new faces, which was lovely. We had a dual enrolled student who's a high school student with us. Her name is Rachel Roberts. And she came to the audition, did a fabulous job. She was referred to us by Alex J. Krebs, who's the Associate Artistic Director of the dance company and adjunct and HCC grad. And Rachel studies with her at Kinetics, a local dance studio. So she introduced the idea to Rachel, and Rachel was very interested. And she's 16 or older, which is our criteria for members of the community to join the company. And it was wonderful having her there. Her energy and her enthusiasm really contributed to the overall feeling and community, which was lovely. And then we had a lot of our veterans and then some students who have been HCC students but haven't danced in the company before. So it was really a nice blend of different voices and different styles and different energies.
It's fantastic. It must be so surreal to have auditions via Zoom. Dance is so much about, like you said, in the space and using the space around you. So that adaptation is just mind-blowing to me that you've been able to tackle that. Kate, can you tell us about the piece that you're in, choreographed by Liz? What is the music that you're performing to? And can you give us a little insight into the development of the choreography?
So yes, I am in Liz's piece. I'm not sure what the music is.
Okay.
That's a Liz question. But the development of the piece was a lot of Liz giving us phrases. We learned the phrases, we stitched them in a whole mess of different areas. We created things in the studio, created phrases together, a lot of improv. It was a lot of teamwork building that, and I really, really enjoyed the outcome.
And did you know your fellow dancers before this process?
Yes, I knew 2 out of the 3 other dancers before this process.
It must be nice to have a little bit of a sense of community during this time. So Liz, can you give us a little bit more information about the piece and your concept going into it? How did you choose these dancers to be part of this piece? Or, did you have the music in mind first and choose the dancers, or were you inspired by the dancers that you had to work with?
For this piece, I used the music that I'm using is by Mark Wingate, who is an electronic composer. I first came upon the music when I was in graduate school, actually, at Florida State University, because he's been on faculty there. It's definitely different. It's not melodic. It has all kinds of different soundscapes coming together with silences interwoven into that soundscape. So the dancers really had to listen closely to find these musical cues because there was no meter they were working with. And some of those musical cues were not easy to find, but they did a fabulous job with it. And the beautiful thing about working in the genre of dance for the camera is that you can manipulate things after the fact in post-production. So if they did a sequence and the timing wasn't quite what we wanted, we can shift in that post-production editing process and put the soundscape slightly later or slightly earlier, right? We also have so many different perspectives and angles of each movement. We have close-ups that circle around the dancers as they're doing a phrase. We have a view from the audience's perspective in a traditional sense. We might have a side view. We even have an aerial view. We had a fixed camera that was hung from the grid above. And so we took a lot of footage of each of the dances from above, and we'll see if we're able to use that footage. Blending the lights from these different perspectives is something we all had to learn about, including the lighting designer, Ben Levine. So it was a great learning curve for all of us, actually, in terms of how you produce a concert that is virtual. Yeah, and I kind of borrowed from a former piece I had made years ago. It was an evening length work. And one of the sections in the work was this duet with a rope, where the dancers had the rope tied around their waist the entire time. So with the current social distancing practices, we cannot do partnering, which we desperately miss, right? We're not allowed to touch each other and take each other's weight and lift each other up off the ground. So that's often a large part of contemporary dance work. So I was trying to think about how I could substitute something in lieu of that. And this rope was the perfect solution to allowing the dancers to feel that counterbalance without actually touching each other. And each rope was 26 feet long, so we had plenty of room to spread out and feel that pull. And because it was a dance for 4 people, and I wanted to expand it. I wanted to give more opportunity, but then we also wanted to keep our numbers small. So 4 was our max for any work so that we could practice social distancing. So I got another rope, and they have these ropes that intersect at times, and then they're linear at times, and then at times they're released from the ropes and they dance freely. And they did a great job with it, because when I first worked with this rope years ago, those dancers struggled because it's tied around your waist. And when you do pull out, you really do feel quite a pull. But they took great risks. I felt like we workshopped minimally before they were pretty comfortable and trying all kinds of things. So I feel like I chose a great cast and they did a great job. They rose to the occasion and I was super happy with them.
Kate, what was that like for you? I've seen some of the rehearsal footage with the rope, and it seems like a really genius way of working in the social distancing into the piece. Is this your typical genre of dance, or was this a new sort of contemporary concept for you?
Since starting HCC, this is the typical genre of dance. Before I joined HCC, I was more jazz oriented, and HCC is more modern oriented. But I have learned a lot and I've grown a lot, and now I've gotten used to this kind of dance. The rope was really interesting. She pulled it out and she said we would be tied to it, and I was like, okay, that sounds fun. It definitely was different to counterbalance and partner with an extra prop when you're used to just holding the other person or using your body weight with the other person. So it was definitely an experience, but a really fun one that I may take in the future and do with what I want to.
And I know in the piece that you're doing with Alex Krebs, there's also some material that you're working with, not rope, but some fabric. How was that incorporated into that piece?
Yes, that was Alex's piece was actually a restaged piece. We were going to do it last year before our concert got canceled. The fabric was there last year. She wanted it to be more of a barrier between two different people, and it still was that for this dance and what we did here. Uh, it was interesting because before we had people touching each other through the fabric, and this time we had to separate the people, so it looked like they were interacting, but they really were on two different sides. So
Liz, you mentioned that these pieces were choreographed with social distancing in mind. How are face masks incorporated into the performance?
As we approached the filming, we thought about everyone's safety and definitely decided that using masks was the way to go. We had a wonderful new costume designer working with us, Kiana Vincente, and she knew how to adapt and found all kinds of beautiful different face wear, face gear, different types of masks that worked with each costume. So it wasn't one steady mask or one consistent look. Each look really did serve the whole concept and aesthetic of the piece. So when the masks came on with the rest of the costume, it actually felt quite natural and it worked very well because the colors blended and the style blended. So she did a great job. And I just felt more comfortable that everybody was in a safe place together.
And is that in some way reinforcing the characters that the dancers are taking on?
That's a good question. I think that it's unique for each dance. It didn't detract from any of the dances. It seemed that without talking to each other, we all sort of went into our own worlds that became somewhat surreal. Not that we said we were all going to connect to this one particular theme, but maybe because we're all in such a strange place right now in our own worlds, living at home and working from home so much that that kind of translated into our creative process. So I feel like each dance takes you into a unique world. So having that mask and feeling that, not that we're not human, but that there is something sort of creature-ish or different, otherworldly that takes the audience to that place. It's actually worked quite well.
Kate, do you have a favorite moment in any of these pieces?
my favorite moment is actually in Alex's piece where Hannah, another dancer, and I start interacting with the big fabric. And it's kind of this push and pull. We kind of see each other. We realize that we're there. We don't know what the other person is, and they're very curious to us. And I found that very interesting and great. I loved Liz's costume. I loved how it was comfortable. Not all costumes are comfortable. I got to wear pants for like the first time. That was nice. But yeah.
And Liz, tell us about some of these other pieces. I know there are multiple choreographers working with a number of students. What can viewers expect to see?
This concert has 5 unique dances with these interludes woven between them. We thought it would be kind of interesting for the viewer to have some sort of palette cleanse between the works. So the works are by different choreographers, right? Darian Smith, who is my colleague full-time at HCC, assistant professor of dance. Alex J. Krebs, who I've mentioned, is the associate artistic director and adjunct faculty at HCC, has a work as well. I have my own work. And then we brought in Vincent Thomas, who is a professor at Towson University, as our guest artist. Beautiful work, great energy that he contributed and brought to the students. And then Alex J. Krebs and I also collaborated on a piece together, which we've never done before, and it was a lot of fun. And one of the things we did for that piece is we went into the prop storage area. We decided, because it was so visual, this concert, we wanted this piece to be a real visual experience for the viewer, in addition to the movement, of course, and the costumes. And we kind of came upon this theme of gold. So the costumes are gold lame, and they worked really well. Kiana did a great job with that. And we spray painted different props, styrofoam heads, balls. We found a throne that has gold paint on it, golden art easels, golden lampshades that they wear on their heads, that they dance with. And this theme of gold sort of became not just a theme for that piece, but for those interludes. So then we took some of those props, those styrofoam balls that were painted gold, and asked 2 to 3 dancers for each interlude to improvise and construct a little bit of material. And we filmed, for example, Kate and Hannah, just their feet, with a little bit of gold body paint on their legs and feet to tie that gold theme together once again. And the camera only shoots that perspective of their feet and ankles interacting with those balls. There's another one where it's just hands, right? And there's 2 dancers and we only see them from about the forearm up. So the interludes, again, I think will give the audience, I hope it will give the audience a perspective of fluidity and a chance to kind of release the concept of the piece prior and kind of prepare for the piece that's coming. Normally, if we were in the house or the audience, the lights would come up, we'd get a chance to look at our programs, read what's coming next, take a breath, then the lights come down in the house and we prepare ourselves for the next piece. So since we don't have that luxury in this virtual world, I was trying to think of a way to create that experience and make it a little easier for the audience to really enjoy each piece uniquely.
Kate, it must be a very different experience to dance for the camera rather than just the theater. What was that like for you? Was it a difficult adaptation?
It was not a difficult adaptation. It just was strange and unique. We're so used to show nights. Everyone gets there, everyone does their makeup, put on their costume. You get on stage, you do it, you mess up, it is what it is, you're done, and you come back for the next day if there's another show, or if there's not, you're just done in general. For the camera, we did different sections over and over again with different camera angles, different lighting, different whatever. And that was a new experience to have to do the dance multiple times instead of just one and done. It was also difficult trying to navigate around the camera because the camera person would weave in and out through us. We had a few mishaps. We had a few people running into him. That's okay. But yeah, it wasn't challenging, but it was definitely odd and strange.
And do you miss the audience? Is that a big part of your joy as a dancer, is performing for an audience?
Definitely. You get a different energy with an audience than you do with just a camera person. A lot of times you dance or perform a lot better because you have the energy of all of the people in the house watching you. So I definitely miss having a live audience.
Liz, what are some benefits of this virtual world that you've noticed, if any?
I think that producing a virtual concert does have some benefits. Kate had mentioned that the dancers are able to perform a sequence over again. So when you're in a live performance, you either kind of hit it or you don't, whether it's a balance, a turn, the sequence of the movements, remembering the sequence. And the luxury of doing things in multiple takes is that if it doesn't go perfectly, you can do it again. If it's shot from two different perspectives, maybe we don't see that mistake that was made. So that's certainly one thing that helps the performers sort of erase some of those mistakes that we might see in a live show. I would say there's a combination where it's not as exciting, but it's also not as stressful to be doing a virtual concert, right? When you have a live performance, all these things have to come together in the moment. You're presenting it in front of hundreds of people. And if something goes wrong, the sound cuts out or the lights go out for some reason, there's an electrical problem. It's pretty stressful. And that has happened at times. And in the virtual world, luckily, none of that happened. All the equipment worked for the most part. We did have one day where the cameras were hooked to monitors so we could see the footage they were actually capturing. And one of those days, for some reason, that feed was disabling the camera. So we just took away the monitors, which meant we couldn't quite see what was happening as well as we could before. So it was a little, more blind in that sense, but we took our time. We disconnected the monitors. Nobody was really stressed out about it. We had, the luxury of not being in front of all those eyes as these things were happening. So that's definitely an advantage for the virtual concert and filming a virtual concert. In terms of teaching, I have to say, for the most part, attendance has been great since we've gone virtual. It's a little easier on an early morning when it's raining out to roll out of your bed and only have to go to the next room to take class. Sometimes it's challenging to really get yourself to campus if you have other things going on and you're really exhausted. So that has been a bit of an advantage in terms of attendance, but we still want to be back in the studio.
Absolutely. Kate, what does your future look like at HCC?
Oh God, my future at HCC looks like at least another semester, another year, definitely doing HCC showcase in the fall, hopefully choreographing. Definitely if I'm here in the spring, doing dance company again, because it's an amazing experience. It gives people amazing experience for performance and everything. And I just very much enjoy working with everybody.
Do you plan on transferring after HCC?
Yes, I plan on transferring to a 4-year college. I don't have anything in mind so far, but I am going to research and I'm hopefully going to transfer into a dance program and continue being a dance major.
Is there anything that either of you would like to add about the dance company production or your experience working with each other?
I would like to thank all of the folks who came together creatively to work on this project, starting with the students. They were committed from the beginning to the end. When we got on that stage and we had to do these 3-hour shoots where they were repeating the same movements over and over again, I did not hear one word of complaint. They did it with joy and great energy. And we had such a supportive creative team on this project. We brought in Orange Grove Dance, Matt Reeves and Colette Krogel, who are a husband and wife dance company based in the area, in the DMV area. And they have actually set work on our students before. They've presented their own dance company with us. But for this show, I found out that they also know how to film and direct and edit dance for the camera. So I asked if they would be available and interested in serving in that capacity instead on this performance. And they brought in Jonathan Sue, who's an amazing cinematographer and photographer. So he served as the director of photography. Ben Levine, who's worked with us before, is a fantastic lighting designer. He's full-time at Dance Place as their technical director. And bringing that team together with our own, folks at HCC, Mark Smedley, Ian Collins, Eric Moore, and of course, Seth Schwartz, who serves as our production manager. I was just feeling very grateful for all the support. And really, that is why this concert, I think, is going to be fantastic, is because there were so many different talented people working on it. And of course, the choreographers, my colleagues, and our guest artist, Vincent Thomas, brought beautiful work and beautiful ideas to the students.
Thank you both for joining me today. It's been wonderful to hear the inside scoop on the dance company production, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you so much.
For more information on HCC's Spring Dance Company production, visit howardcc.edu/danceconcerts. I'm Janelle Broderick for In the Spotlight. See you next time.